Hi, my name is Tori. Today we'll be filming scar cover-up procedure in my clinic in St Helens. So the advice I give to somebody who wants to offer the scar camouflage is to get some good quality training and shadow some medical professionals as well. It's just really important that we have a really good idea of the different kind of treatments we can offer people. So for example, cleft lip and stretch marks, endometrial scars, self-inflicted scars as well. It's just really important to make sure that you get some good quality training. So I'm going to colour match my client now to the perfect skin tones to make sure that we don't do a colour that's too cool or too warm. After I colour match, I'm now going to dilute the pigment and add in a lighter shade of warm honey mixed with a flesh tone in extra light. I'm just using the Butterlux 2-in-1 prep just to cleanse the area that we're going to be tattooing. So this just gets rid of any bacteria and just cleans the skin. You can use an alcohol wipe for this step as well, so you don't necessarily have to use the 2-in-1 prep for this. So I'm just going to now just adjust the length of my needle, and I want to work with it quite short. Anything longer will cause too much trauma to the skin. So I'm using a 15 mag just to start because some of the areas are larger. So if I was to have a smaller scar, I'd use a 3-round liner because it's a lot more narrower. And my speed is on 5.5 as well. Are you alright for me to start? Yeah? So I start with circular motions in the scar, and I just do a little section first just to see how the skin takes the pigments over the scars. So what I'm trying to achieve here is to make sure that the colour is nice and distributed throughout the scar. So with this as well, you want to make sure that you get a really good stretch. And you can sort of feel the vibration through your fingers that it is going in. What will naturally happen with scars, they'll go kind of red and raised. This is totally normal. And this is what you want it to do, so it will hold the pigment once it heals. So you'll never see the true camouflage until it is fully healed. So now with the edges, I'm kind of doing a back and forth motion just to blend out the sides. Okay, so the most important things to consider during a scar cover procedure is how long the scar has actually been prominent. So I don't actually cover scars less than 12 months old, as the scar tissue just isn't ready yet to be tattooed. Another consideration would be making sure to use the correct skin tone for the client. I don't kind of base it off what the scar looks like because it can have discoloration, so I try to pick the pigment that matches the most to the skin tone. Another pointer that I'd like to add. I'd say working on like a slower speed as well to cause less trauma to the skin is another big pointer. Important to remember as well that it could take like up to 3 sessions for something to be fully covered as well. As you can see with scarring, any more protruding scars tend to go more red and more irritated. This is totally normal. If you can see on this side, it's covered quite well here. But that's just a good pointer just to keep in mind when you are covering scars, that it may look really, really red and irritated at first, but once your 6 weeks comes, it'll be nice and calmed down. Once it's fully healed, the redness will go down, but you usually will find that though within 48 hours, but it just depends on the clients. So what I'm doing is as well, I'm doing circular motions and then just kind of flicking outwards from the scar just to blend them edges in. So now I'm going to just swap the needle to the 3 round liner just to get any smaller areas that I need to cover. So with stretch marks, because it is done so superficially, you do tend to get a lot more redness than what you would say kind of like an operation scarring and endometrial scars and things like that, or C-section scars, just because the skin is more like bouncy as well, and it's a lot thinner than traditional scars. So as you can see, what I'm doing here, I'm just gently doing circular motions. So because this scar isn't, stretch mark isn't as protruding, it'll take the pigment quite fast and shouldn't cause too much redness. So it's a lot easier for us to see the actual cover up. So be really slowly just blending now. And that's a big tip to do, just make sure that you're watching where you're going, because camo can go wrong quite fast if you're not in the right area or you've not colour matched correctly. I'm just doing circular motions now. I'm not putting too much pressure onto the skin, and I'm just gently flicking outwards with the needle just to create that perfect blend for the scar. So then once it heals, all the edges will be nice and covered. I'm going over now on a second pass. So again, I'm just doing the exact same technique with the 3-round liner and just blending out the edges using the flicking, whipping motion. So when you are doing your cover ups and you have colour matched, it's just important to note that the colour may appear a little bit warmer, and that can be a number of things. It could be when the blood goes to the surface of the skin, and again, there's in in stretch marks and scars, there's a lot of discoloration. So a lot of the colours, sometimes you can't get absolutely perfect, but we can get close to the perfect colour match. As you can see now on the second pass, the redness is starting to go down and you can start to see more of the colour. Now, my model's a really good example because she has got quite a lot of protruding stretch marks. So even though they are going red, the colour around the edges is starting to appear. Okay, you want to be careful as well that you don't pluck the skin, because that can cause additional trauma. So I'm literally barely touching the top layer of the skin because I want to keep it quite superficial. You shouldn't be kind of feeling as well kind of like the needle getting stuck. It needs to be steady, and you sort of need to feel it's like a soft vibration under the skin. In stretch marks and scars, there's a lot of discoloration. So a lot of the colours, sometimes you can't get absolutely perfect, but we can get close to the perfect colour match. As you can see now on the second pass, the redness is starting to go down and you can start to see more of the colour. Now, my model's a really good example because she has got quite a lot of protruding stretch marks. So even though they are going red, the colour around the edges is starting to appear. So with any kind of scar cover-ups, you will see the trauma to the skin underneath. So let's say I whacked on a brown pigment now, you'd never be able to see the trauma underneath the skin. So how you guys can now see that there is quite still a bit of redness, this is what the skin does underneath. So the bigger areas of any scarring is going to take a while to kind of hold the pigment. So this is why I always recommend a few sessions, so then we can build up the colour more safely as well and less traumatic to the skin. I'm just going to swap to a 15 mag now just to build up the colour. So circular motions, it's also known as like colour packing. So that's essentially what you want to be doing when packing in the flesh tone on any scar. And I'm not actually putting a lot of pressure on this, I'm barely touching the top layer of the skin and it's just flowing the pigments. So working at a 45-degree angle is perfect for getting really good retention with this as well. But if you work more at like a 90 like this, it's just gonna cause too much trauma to the skin and you're gonna find that you don't actually get a lot of pigment implanted into the skin as you've got more control at this angle. It's important for me to offer scar cover-ups in my studio because I get all kinds of forms of life coming through my door, and as well, just as from a personal point, having endometrial scars myself, it was hard to find somebody who could cover these. To be able to disguise and minimize the scars of someone is just really important to me. Just moving downwards now towards some other stretch marks, and I'm just repeating the same methods of circular motions and just flicking outwards just to get a beautiful blend. So as you can see, within a few minutes it started to reduce. So over the next few hours, up to 48 hours, it should go back to normal and you'll see where it has been covered as well. So this, to be honest, is more of the traumatic stage, but you've just got to always remember that in the next few sessions that it will be fully covered. It's just a longer procedure rather than with your lips and your brows where you can see almost immediately. Thank you for watching my scar cover-up procedure. If you'd like more information about the treatments that I offer, please see the description below.